Welcome back, everybody. It's time for Game 2 here at the Queensland High School League of Legends Championship Series. Do we want to call it? I think we want to call it champion. It sounds more proper. Either way, it is High School League of Legends from the state of Queensland as we get ready for a battle between two teams looking to secure themselves solidify themselves, solid matter, liquid, gas. They want second place is what I'm trying to get at right here. It's going to be Kelvin Grove taping up against TAS. And I mean, we've seen these two teams on stream before. They're each very, very strong. And I'm excited to see which one will come out today.
Yeah, you got a way of word formal that is second to none here between these two teams. Of course, KG Green, I'm doing it now, up against TAS should be an absolute banger. These teams, of course, doing relatively well coming into things, and you would hope that teams that have, gotten their way up the bracket are particularly strong. They've got, a good mixture of strategy. They've got a good mixture of macro, micro. It'll be very fun to see. As I feel like, as you guys can see on stream, we should probably introduce the teams formal. So, of course, TAS is rocking Trèe in the top lane. Linguini is holding down the jungle. Estella 4 is in the middle lane with Geni and Ludens. And Ludens in the bottom lane.
We remembered! Yay!
I remembered! I big brained it.
Yeah, we got there. Meanwhile, taking them on, of course, is going to be Kelvin Grove Green with Prinćess in the top lane, Endrial in the jungle. It will be Sponkle, not Yuki, in the mid lane. It will be deukae in the bot lane, and it is rowdey on support. Looks as if, according to what we see in front of us, they may have combined with some of our players last game, but no, it is Sponkle, deukae, and rowdey in those bot 3 positions with Prinćess and Endrial on the top half.
Yeah. And it'll be very interesting to see how this game goes. But I don't, we can sit here, we can theorize formal, we can spend our time debating on what we're going to see. Or realistically, we can just get right into Champion Select and find out what these teams are going to go through. And without any further ado, let's get into it. There's only so much time I can buy, guys. Press the start button, please.
Oh, they'll get there. They're taking there. Just making sure everyone is ready and set. Again, when we sort of look at these two teams and how they match up, Geni has been a pretty big performer for TAS in the past. This bot lane from the TAS side is super, super strong. But one of the things that they might struggle against when it comes to Kelvin Grove has been their adaptability. Kelvin Grove, they are a team that has broken convention in the past. Sometimes they will mix up lanes. They will mix up champions. They will throw curveballs at you, which is good to see at this stage of a competition as well, because if you are TAS and you can overcome a team that doesn't play convention always, that tells me that you have strong fundamentals, and it's why I'm looking for, in particular, a clean game from our red side.
Yeah, and that's, in theory, what we'll get, but we need to, wait for pick and ban to get through formal, and so far, nothing over the extraordinary coming through here. A Gnar ban is a solid one. Gnar's annoying. You just get rid of it. Get it off the table. I'm sorry, it's annoying. Have you ever versed a good Gnar formal and just known the pain that no matter what you do, you're never allowed to get on top of him and kill him? Like, it's pain.
Well, I can say with absolute certainty, I am that Gnar player, and I have to say Gnar has cost me many a game when I am playing it. So I'm with you. Get rid of the Gnar as we do wait to see where these bans. A lot of topside focus with these first couple bans, and I'm wondering if that's just a case of the top laners kind of controlling let's get rid of who we want to get rid of before we let everyone else pick. A Graves ban. That's a jungler we haven't seen too much of actually in this league in a good long while. I feel as if Graves, though, still has that potential to pop off, and they're going to try to keep it away from Linguini, even though that might not be this champion or this player's main champion.
Yeah. It's still just a really good jungler right now, though, so even if it isn't their perhaps strongest, it is still a very good champion. And one of the most annoying junglers right now, like Hecarim, Udyr. I know Olaf has started to make a little bit more of a rise. These skirmish-heavy junglers have been strong for a while. They're still strong now, so I am a huge fan of taking that one away. The other ban is Gangplank. We saw it last game. A good Gangplank player is terrifying. So I'm very happy to see that one taken away. And the Zac surprises me a little bit. It may be inside Linguini's wheelhouse, but it is not a particularly strong jungler right now, in my opinion.
I mean, you could say it might be inside Linguini's wheelhouse. You also could say that Linguini's, out of like their past 20 games, has played 16 on this champion. So I feel that's definitely going to be a targeted ban and something they don't want to deal with. Speaking of, champions you might not want to deal with, the Gwen as well taken away. And I almost feel as if perhaps on this red side, they might have been watching that game prior, as they get rid of like two of the sort of star performers in our first game with that Gwen and the Gangplank gone. That will leave priority, though, to be locked in as an Ashe, and that is not typically something that we see.
It's not standard right now, but Ashe provides so much to a team in general, plays a lot of CC, and I think the biggest thing that it can bring to the table that maybe it's obvious, but you don't necessarily think about it, is easy engage, right? Like, it's hard, I think, to mess up the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Ashe ultimate, to the point where it completely misses a target, in the laning phase, or hell, even if you're trying to pick a fight around an objective. So I'm a huge fan of the utility that Ashe brings to the table, and I hope it doesn't, but I know some people, I'm looking at you, play Ashe support still with Imperial Mandate. First of all, stop it. Second of all, it's a possibility.
I've never played Ashe support. I do not know what you're talking about. So I'm assuming you're talking to our producer, Jet, on that one. And Jet, this is why you should be playing Smash more and not League of Legends. Either way, Renekton and the Olaf have been locked in. So sort of picking for roles at the moment on our TAS side. I love these two picks, though. Very aggressive, very divey. And especially when that Ashe gets locked in, and an Alistar as well. Olaf just pushes R, goes Ragnarok, does not care. That engage potential still could be there just by running straight at your opponents. And we're going to have to see perhaps other avenues of peel get locked in for this Kelvin Grove side as they look to lock in that third pick. A lot of options they could go towards. I'd like to see them pick an answer to that Renekton here.
Yeah, but they're hovering the Ornn. I'm a huge fan of this matchup if you can play it safely. Renekton's entire shtick is he tries to kill you in the laning phase. As long as you don't give him that route, as long as you don't actually fall behind, as long as you can absorb the pressure, you can do fine in this matchup as an Ornn. So I'm a huge fan of this for Prinćess in the top half of the map here. It should nullify Tree's aggressive behavior, and we'll have to see how the rest of the phase goes, because Estelle has grabbed themselves the Seraphine for what we can assume is the middle lane.
Yeah, I think that could be a safe assumption, although the flexibility is there. Can still be taken down on that bot side. Seraphine, one of the strongest champions still at the moment. The encore ability has been so strong in the past for kind of guiding teamfights the way you want to. And when you kind of pair that with the sort of all-in potential that a Renekton and Olaf brings, it's almost like you're forcing your opponents to meet you in that middle ground, Instead of us diving all the way to you, you're going to come to us as well, especially in those choke points where Ornn is going to be looking for those Call of the Forest Gods. It could be a great way to disrupt it. So I'm in love with the Seraphine pick. They don't want to go up against an Anivia in that mid lane. That's sort of an interesting ban to see as well. I know we were coming into this expecting sort of unusual bans, and it is sort of fun to see where we go. Sivir makes me sad, as I still believe this is the most underrated AD carry champion in the game.
Yeah, but it's also Sivir. Get it out of my sight. I don't like Sivir. The champion is annoyingly safe. It's so difficult to kill. And then the moment you realize, hey, wait a second, I'm like half health, Sivir just runs you down and kills you. So get that off the table. I would expect another champion like maybe the Jinx, the Tristana, these other good carries to fall victim to the ban list here. We'll have to see which one KG Green do decide to catch. On the other side, of course, you talked about the Anivia. The Cho'Gath is a bit of an odd ban. I know some people play Cho'Gath mid, but no, can you not play Cho'Gath mid, please? I'd like my mid laners with a little bit of range.
Yeah, I disagree with the idea of mid laners need to be ranged. Kassadin does exist. However, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised to see that Cho'Gath ban. More traditional, either top or a bot side champion these days, as Rel is going to be hovered. And that makes me think, yeah, you were right. We are seeing that Seraphine in the mid lane. Rel, pretty solid at disengage, and that could be actually useful because the in-game tools, we haven't spoken about it enough yet, I think, on that Kelvin Grove side. 3 champions, all with sort of these engage go buttons, or multiple buttons in the case of Alistar right now. I do feel that's going to put a lot of earnest on Ludens and what he selects for Geni in this bot lane carry role. as there's going to be a lot of dive, a lot of team fight prowess, and positioning is going to be key.
Yeah, but the rel also kind of tells me that Jinx may not be a realistic possibility. I'll come to that in a moment. As it looks like they will be grabbing the Tristana, we can safely assume that this is going to be Tristana mid, because, well, it can do actually rather well into the likes of a Seraphine, and now they've just got to find their jungler. The Fiddlesticks would be unconventional, and I would much prefer the likes of the Rammus. You're against a low-range composition so far with nothing much going for them, so your ability to split up fights would be quite strong. The Shaco, I don't think necessarily fulfills that role, but I suppose if you're looking to assassinate someone, it can work.
I think the AP Shaco is actually almost necessary in this. I would have liked to see an Elise, personally. I think Elise would have been the better fit if you're going to go down this role, but what I'm assuming the Shaco is going to be selected to do is, yeah, provide a little bit of that AP assassin role. When you decide to go double sort of marksman carry, it is mean that your opponents might be prioritizing armor a little bit more leading up, and then that could leave them vulnerable to the one-shot potential of a AP assassin, like the way Shaco could build. I think an Echo as well could have been perhaps a better lock in here, because it would have synergized a bit more with sort of that team fight style that I think the double marksmans can absolutely excel in. However, that last pick is going to be a Kai'Sa, so committing to the dive right now is the TAS side, and this game is going to be very interesting. Positioning obviously is going to be so key, in particular for TAS, I feel. I don't know. There's a lot of ways TAS can win this game, but I almost feel there's a lot more ways they can kind of lose it.
Yeah, the composition worries me because of a singular reason, Formal, which is a lack of damage, which it sounds so ridiculous to say in a way. But Renekton, while he has got decent lane damage, his scaling potential, because you typically build tank, isn't brilliant. And he's going to struggle to get access to Sponkle and deukae on the Ashe and Tristana. Olaf shouldn't be able to get access to the backline, even if he does pop the Ragnarok here. And the Kai'Sa, who is the primary source of damage output because Seraphine acts as a support, well, she's particularly short range, to be blunt. So getting access to the likes of the Ashe, getting access to the likes of the Tristana is going to be a struggle for Geni come the mid to late game fight. So I'm just really getting a little worried that as this game progresses, if TAS are falling behind, which I feel like they should, considering they don't have a lot of, mid-game skirmishing going for them, they're just not going to be able to go toe for toe. They'll fall a couple thousand gold behind Green, and with the Ashe Tristana combination for team fights, I don't think Green should be able to lose objective control team fights.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I would have liked almost TAS to go something a bit more tank bustery. I wouldn't be as concerned about the range that you were talking about had they locked in something like a Vayne or something that can just like really sort of pop down that front line, because finding the backline access is going to be so difficult through an Alistar, through an Ornn, through the natural range that volleys as rocket jumps can sort of establish for the Tristana and the Ashe. It feels like if they're going to get to the back line, they're going to have to get through that front line first, and that's going to fall down onto the Renekton and the Olaf almost to get that damage done. And I don't know if these are champions that are inherently tanky enough to survive what will be a Tristana and an Ashe, and at times even that Shaco. I say Shaco because he's going, for the Shank ganks. But yeah, they're going to be the three that are going to be looking to sort of bring them down. Again, assuming this is the AP Shaco as well. It's going to be a tough match for sure. That said, if TAS can find those right sort of skirmishes, I know you're saying they're not a skirmishy team. I still see a Renekton and an Olaf, and I do see ways they could find some 2v2s or 3v3s going their way on the top half of the map. Perhaps they can get their own snowball and that own side lane pressure going, which will sort of stop the more traditional 5v5 fights. Yet, if we do get that more traditional setup, I do worry about TAS's chances.
Yeah, TAS, they're in a good but awkward position where they have their possibilities. They need to play aggressive on the top half of the map. They need to get Geni's Kai'Sa relevant as quickly as humanly possible with a numbers advantage. And they need to make sure that they don't get snowballed against, because a snowballing Tristana Ashe is nightmare fuel. And if it's, well, regardless of which build the Shaco goes for, a Shaco appearing behind you and just murdering one of your carries is never a good thing. But I suppose we'll have to find out, as we will be loading into our second game of the Dead Guys. Do not go anywhere. We'll have a short break, and when we hit the Summoner's Rift, we will get to find out if KG Green or TAS are able to collect the win.
Welcome back to Summoner's Rift. It is game number 2. Now afoot on that blue side, Kelvin Grove Green. In red, it is a TAS. And, well, we could be actually looking for some early action right now, moving as a group of 4. It looks like TAS might want to invade. However, there's a big batch of 3 Kelvin Grove members right above Rowdey. Will spot that invade and drops the ward, which did get spotted. So TAS, aware they have been found out, opted to retreat without dropping any wards themselves.
Yeah, I don't think they're in the position to drop wards though, Formal, because if you're going to put a, there's no point putting a ward where you were, right? If you're going to do that, you have to get to the red buff. And because they got scouted, there's every possibility that for arguably all 5 members of Kelvin Grove could have been just waiting for them. So instead, they back up, they play it smart, they play it safe, which I must say in the early games, I'm a fan of because their composition for the side of TS doesn't really do well at level 1s. Like, they've got no real good crowd control. They don't have a ton of high damage output either. So I'm a fan of the smart play, the safe play, and we'll see how it goes for them as bottom side starts for both of our junglers here. And Shaco will do Shaco things in he's farming 2 camps at once because he's greedy. And that's what Shaco
That's what Shacos do. I am aware, but something two things I do note though at the start of that game, each coming from Linguini, who we just saw right there on the Olaf. The first being, well, yes, they did have a chance to put a ward. He still opted to switch to a sweeper without actually dropping the ward in and of itself, and I do feel that could be a bit of a misplay unless there's an intent to gank level 2, but judging by that early pathing, it looks like he'll be going for a full clear instead, so I still would have liked to see a ward placed regardless. Even if it doesn't see anything, I guess it still could provide passive information, else needs to be careful there. The other thing of note, and this is something I've never seen before in a game of League of Legends, like honestly never seen, Linguini apologized for the level 1 invade. I just haven't seen that before, and Rowdey was just like, nah, it's okay, you're good. So, I mean, that's a mindset I have not seen before, but I suppose it's a different one.
That is a level of respect that I don't think I've ever seen. Like, it's like, it's good camaraderie, if nothing else, between the jungler of TAS and the bot laner of KG Green. And, well, I mean, it means we're going to get a good game for them. It means that no one is going to be doing too cheesier strats, I hope, I think. But we might...
We're going to be good, trust. Everything's going to be cool, calm, collected, relaxed. We're going to be fine, I think. No craziness, except for my camera. which decided to go on a roundabout. You didn't get to see that, though. However, it does look like a very traditional clear coming from Linguini right now. It was going for that full clear. Now it's going to be looking for a Scuttlebug, which doesn't exist. Sponkle, again, doesn't matter. Being a level down, the Tristana mid is such a lane bully, as we see time and time again.
Yeah, and the problem is that there's no real relief coming in for this middle lane because we saw Linguini, he's topside, realizes he lost the Scuttle Crab, is now forced to recall in an awkward position. And he's going to have to race down bot side. And now there are so many options here for the green jungler. Does he, race down bot side and try and double scuttle his opponent? Does he do a gank topside because he knows that Tree is undefended on the top half of the map? There are a lot of options for Calvin Grove's jungler. It looks like, though, they are electing to simply play a bit slower, a bit safer, not try and rush Linguini down, which a part of me does wonder, is that just the respect coming through here? Just like, oh, we're not going to bully you out of a Scuttle Crab. We'll give you one of those.
I'm not too sure at this stage. It does look as if Linguini's going to be happy for that. And I think it comes from actually the way how the bot lane is positioned. It's pretty neutral right there. And then when you consider top, yes, Sponkle might have had that advantage, but are you willing to push it at this stage of a game? And I feel like, no, why break thing? Although, well, there's the roam down, so perhaps it was just a little bit too late on making that call to look for that Scuttle Crab.
Could be. It could also just be that, hey, Linguini is in the bottom side river. He could come gank. Ganking against a Seraphine is actually... Sorry, ganking for a Seraphine, I should say, actually is pretty easy because if she gets her lockdown in position of the beat drop, I believe it's called, she can lock you down in place relatively easily, and while Tristana is safe, you can still get run down by an Olaf. So I like the respect of the ward, watching out, making sure nothing unconventional happens back up. And I think this is not what we were ready for, Formal. We were expecting a bloodthirsty game. I was expecting Shaco level 2 to kill someone.
Yeah,
it's
so
5 minutes into the game. No one has died.
No, and maybe it could be waiting for that first dragon, or we could be waiting for that level 6, particularly on this bot lane for Kelvin Grove. That's when they should be at their peak looking for kills. I was also sort of thinking back on how Linguini was able to get that Scuttle Crab, and something could have to do actually with the pathing itself. If there had been a case of Kelvin Grove actually tracking the timing, it was started a little bit early, as Linguini did sacrifice getting Krugs in order for sort of that awkward recall before. And I was thinking back on when the Tristana started to roam down, and that would have synergized when Linguini would have been at the crabs had it been a more traditional pathing. So I'm not sure how intentional it was necessarily by Linguini to kind of outpace right there, especially when you sacrifice a camp like Krugs. Yet it did pay off in a sense, so credit in that sense. Both junglers, though, now on the top side of the map with an Ocean Drake, neither team really prioritizing this dragon.
I think these teams are just allowing the game to play itself out for now here. And if they do decide to play passive for the next, 5-10 minutes, I would be surprised because, well, for the side of TAS, I'm not sure that sitting back and letting the early game play itself out is necessarily what you want to do. Now, yes, I know in Champions, like I said, I was worried about their lack of late game, their lack of damage because they just have Kaiser, who's for the late game. But you've also drafted an Olaf Renekton, who should be quite a strong 2v2 top half of the map, duo. And if you're not going to do anything aggressive in the early game or force an aggressive play when you have access to a Renekton, I don't think Renekton should be what you're locking in there. Then you just lock in something like an Ornn, something like a Maokai, something like a Malphite, some tanky champion that just scales fantastically. So I really want to see Linguini, gank top side, maybe force a gank through mid, do something that isn't farming and trading jungle camps.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Eventually something needs to break, and there was a window where we could have seen TAS be that more proactive team, yet as we get ever closer to level 6, that window is shutting. And I feel Kelvin Grove isn't the type that is going to make that similar passive play. You don't lock in Ornn, AP Shaco, and an Ashe Alistar bot lane going, yeah, we want to play passive. No, they want to wait for those power strikes and then strike it. So you can see, the timing not quite there. Endrial perhaps hoping that Enchanted Crystal Arrow would have been available for a bot side gank. Instead, We'll have to farm up Krugs first, right as this wave crashes. Linguini, probably aware of the volatile situation down bot, is making their way down bot as well. Will get set up in the tri-push as there's the combo. Luden's not quite thrown under tower as deukae is going to have to peel a little bit. Endrial racing to get in that lane as we see as well. Linguini is now going to spot that Shaco, drops a ward, throws an axe, slows him down in the mid lane. Sponkle goes in as well. Will get dropped by the beat. As we wait and see what's happening. Not a lot of fights, just a lot of posturing, even though level 6s are now available. Endrial actually will step up the lane with the clone, and yeah, Linguini kind of falls for the bait.
I think Linguini's just like, leave me alone, please. I don't want to proc your boxes in your clone.
Might not have a choice, though, as Endrial... Ooh, kind of steps in a little bit too far. Luden's, though, trying to jam up that gap. Linguini is quite low. Where's the Ashe arrow? It's right in the face of Luden's, and it does not do much at all. Linguini able to jump to safety as rowdey nearly goes down. Teleport's coming through. Rowdey is already fallen. That's first blood over to Geni as Luden slashes over the wall and escapes. Endrial will look to chase down this manaless Kai'Sa. The Call of Forge God does get dropped up top, but does not get connected, so Trèe will be able to walk away. How is Geni still alive? Endrial just doesn't have the damage yet. He's going to try to blink over the wall, waiting for the cooldown of that dagger. Geni trying to get to the safety of the tower, but then runs into the Shaco, who uses the tower for the assist.
Yeah, but the fight's not over yet because Trèe and Prinćess, everyone came to the bottom half of the map, mind you, and with double AD carries and an Ornn, I don't feel like there is anything TAS allowed to do here. Look at this.
Into the satchel and into the kill. Trèe is going to have to back away. Manuel up top. Yeah, that was a very near miss for Prinćess right there. Just unable to catch else in that situation. A long extended fight only results in 3 deaths, yet now Trèe is kind of stranded alone until that bot lane arrives. You know he wants to get that farm, but might have to give it up for the bot laners as, in response, Kelvin Grove, they just go ahead and take that Ocean Drake.
Yeah, and they're going to get it for free, though. TAS are looking to contest this. They do have most of the members available, but they've got to watch out for the Shaco boxes, but they can definitely contest this, and yeah, forcing them off.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that would have been a very bad fight for Kelvin Grove, especially considering the Magnet Storm still available for Luden's, although that is because Luden's actually hasn't hit 6 yet. My apologies. I thought everyone was at that stage. Even with the Dragon, Luden's still level 5. Either way, the Dragon kind of stolen in a sense. I'd say more muscled off by TAS right there. They get themselves that first Dragon of the game. Very interesting exchange of plays.
Yeah, but the reason why TAS were able to actually secure the Dragon was because they recalled. Ordinarily, in a position like that, after you've lost the initial fight, you've been forced back, the other team gets the objective. That's typically how you trade. But the problem is, it took Kingsgrove so long to actually kill the Dragon that their opponents were able to come back in, realize, hey, you haven't killed the Dragon. You are now sitting on far too much gold. You haven't got the health to do this. And as you said, muscles them off, secures the objective for themselves, and gets rewarded for retreating in a way, which is a bit odd ordinarily, but hey, if you make it work, you make it work. And bot side now, there's some fun going on.
Oh, Killer Instinct, deukae, nowhere to go. Too much damage out of this Olaf and Geni combo. Rowdey now, nowhere really for this Alistar to go. Has Ignite, that's not going to save you, my friend. Just Pulverize to buy some time. Geni gets their second kill of the game as this TAS bot lane starting to look quite strong.
Yeah, and this is where you finally get to see the strength of the Kai'Sa and the Rell. I mean, everyone knows it's a good lane matchup. Rell sets up the Kai'Sa perfectly. Rell's got the Kai'Sa's got the perfect follow-up for the Rell. They synergize so well together as a duo. And you compare that to the Ashe and the Alistar. While they've got a lot of damage, they've got a lot of harassment, their actual ability to fight the 2v2 is reduced because Ashe isn't the I'm going to nuke your health bar down marksman. She's the utility marksman of, well, the AD carry position. She provides engage, she provides crowd control, she provides slows. She doesn't bring tons of damage, which is going to be a problem because look what Geni has just acquired for herself in the bottom lane here, and how that's going to prove a little bit of a problem for Rowdey to hold off.
Release the Kraken Slayer, says the side of TAS. They're going to be looking for fights. Unfortunately for them, there's really not much to fight over, and this is typically a time when we'd see teams sometimes swap lanes. Sponkle already looking to play on that top side. Burns flash a little bit unnecessarily. Call it style points, call it what you will. It's still a kill secured by the Tristana.
It looked cool, formal, and that's all that matters for Sponkle, because the way Sponkle's been playing, he's been aggressive all game. He's now 1,100 gold over his opponent here, and it is kind of the lane that we've talked about the least, yet the most. Right? We constantly see Sponkle engaging in the bottom lane, constantly picking the fight, but nothing ever coming from it, just getting a lot of damage down. But finally, we got to see, well, the damage has netted a nice gold lead. The damage also works really well. Sponkle seems to love playing aggressive, love being up in his opponent's face here, and the Tristana is almost the perfect pick for this kind of playstyle, especially against a mage in the middle lane.
Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this one. Tristana mid is like quickly becoming my favorite mid lane character, with just how fun they are to watch when played well. Tree could be in a bit of trouble right here. Does get knocked around, forced to actually go ahead and use that Dominus in order to escape. A little bit of a scary situation for Tree. Now going to be ultless and flashless. No teleport as well. That's going to lead to a relatively significant lead for Prinćess on the top side.
It should be, but Prinćess actually is down in terms of CS, but even in gold. So it shouldn't net too much, and honestly, I'd consider that a win for Tree. Tree burned just the flash and the ultimate compared to the ignite, the flash, and the ultimate from the side of King's Grove, because of course the Shaco dropped the ignite on top half. The only problem is, turret plating, where Prinćess has done a fantastic job of nullifying the lane, even playing aggro in the lane, because Ornn can do a little bit of everything. And hey, it works out, right?
Good ward.
Watch out.
Oh, but Endrial might not save him. Instead, is going to try to jump away. Luden's looking to rush in. Do we see the Magnus Storm? No, we see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow into the teleport. That's going to pop a Ragnarok as the rocket jump into 4. But it's a huge charm right there out of Elf. That Encore does so much work to buy time. They don't save their jungler, but perhaps they save the fight as TAS is able to escape.
What could have been so good for TAS doesn't work out because of a single reason. They didn't have damage. You had a perfect setup, but no Geni. We talked about this coming into the game. The Olaf isn't necessarily a good source of damage, especially considering his current scoreline. So much of your team fight damage has to come from this Kai'Sa here. And if your Kai'Sa isn't available for the fight for whatever reason, you're not allowed to fight. Unfortunately, it's going to be just as simple as that. If Kai'Sa is not there, TAS aren't allowed to fight, because if they do, they're going to lose.
And it's always a frustrating time when you see a Tristana jump right into 3 members of your team, get a kill, get hit with the Encore, and get away unpunished. But the punishment was just not available, and Sponkle is going to know that moving forward. We could see more plays like that as Endrial, who was thinking about going for a play on Linguini, instead throws the knife at Ludens instead. Geni this time is around, as the Cloud Drake does get started up. Else zoned away by that fun time puzzle box. It's gonna go ahead, clear out some vision. Looks like the dragon won't be committed on just yet. Got to make sure you get rid of all of Shaco's fun toys. Up top, this tower might go down. You do have teleport available for Tree as well. Should a fight break out, there's a chance TAS, they might give up that top tower in order to force a play, or Sponkle will force the play themselves. That's going to be a jump over the wall. A lot of damage onto Else. The follow-up rocket jump is there, and the kill is secured just as the top tower falls. Call of the Forge God will be used to sort of knock Tree around, who gets taken quite low despite the use of the Dominus. Again, Tree sort of losing out on these trades.
Yeah, Tree just doesn't have the damage output to deal with an Ornn. Ornn does damage. Ornn is ridiculously tanky. And one of Renekton's greatest strength, coming in a second, is Endrial. He's trying to outplay them, but I don't think he can.
No, he's going to be in a lot of trouble right here. Although the fake, no one fires for it this time. It does result in a mid tower going down as Endrial's clone still doing a bit of annoying work to Linguini, who just does his best to just walk away. Sponkle perhaps a little bit too early on the rocket jump, yet the chase doesn't happen. All right, now it finally... How annoying is that for Linguini?
It's frustrating, because you're like, man, I've already killed you, and here you are harassing me beyond the grave. Like, the clone did more damage to Linguini than Endrial did. Like, because the clone was just around longer. But doesn't unfortunately do much. They will secure themselves the dragon. That is 2 dragons now in the favor of TAS, which is putting them in a pretty good position, because we talked about it. They kind of want to get to the late game team fights with Kai'Sa online. Kai'Sa is currently 1-3. Kai'Sa has her mythic, and Geni is looking good, but Geni's getting engaged on.
The headbutt pulverized onto Geni, but the Enchanted Crystal Arrow misses. Even with the volley, just not enough damage is being thrown back on this Kai'Sa, though. Ludens takes a lot of tower shots and will go down. Very sloppy fight, I have to admit, Ewan, and I think it's won in a sense almost that Kelvin Grove is lucky to get away, but the Sponkle is going to do Sponkle things right into the Encore, yet that's not going to save Elsis. The second rocket jump with the follow-up secures the kill for this Tristana.
Yeah, the problem with this particular matchup, right, is Seraphine loves the music, she loves singing her songs, but unfortunately Sponkle on this Tristana, he's the person in the crowd that yells on, is the first person to start yelling for the Encore here. So he wants it to hit him in the face, because beyond the Encore, there actually isn't anything that the Seraphine can do. The build path is utility focus, which means there is no damage, which means when Sponkle decides that they are fighting, there is nothing that the TAS mid lane is actually allowed to do other than run away and in this case die.
Look, the way how I see it, Seraphine might be, you know, the K-pop star, but Tristana is a punk at heart and is going to look to stage dive and crowd surf and just jump right into your face. And we've seen that time and time again this game. Sponkle absolutely has been taking that mid lane over, and soon we will see the lasting effects of it. We're at the stage right now where any sort of team fight should result in a tower at minimum going Kelvin Grove's way, especially if Sponkle is going to be in that lane with the Phantom Dancer, with the Kraken Slayer, with Tristana's natural sort of tower demolishing abilities. This little punk rocker is about to wreak havoc.
Yeah, 5-0, and I think the big thing is they've reached the we call it the 7,200 gold mark formal. It's the point where a AD carry has 2 fully completed critical strike items. Of course, in this case, with Tristana, it's the Kraken Slayer, and pairing that up with the rather disgusting Phantom Dancer, and they've got a Hail of Blades, and they've got Berserker's Greaves. Like, Spondle's entire trading pattern against most players is jump in, throw the bomb on top, bam, 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 get the reset, chase them down again, as we're about to witness right now. 3 auto attacks, detonate the bomb, don't even need the second jump, because that is what happens when you send a support against what is effectively an assassin.
That has been 4 kills in a row for Sponkle as well without use of the Buster Shot. So you even have that to fall back on if necessary, yet it really has been a case of those, you know, explosive charges just doing work. So yeah, explosive charges. That was correct. Okay. I always get it confused with the Ziggs Satchel. Like, they're each explosive, they're each bombs, they each go off and do way more damage than you're always hoping they will do when up against them. It's been a bit ridiculous just watching Sponkle, and we see the end result as well. Gets the kill, gets the tower. And I expect to see this on repeat as it's slowly becoming Kelvin Grove's win condition.
Yeah, and it's working brilliantly so far here, because I talked about it earlier, that the Ashe, you don't pick the Ashe for damage. You pick the Ashe for the utility that she can provide. So the fact that Sponkle on the Tristana, on the damage late game hypercarry, is online is a fantastic thing to witness, because now we'll see it in mid lane, and Geni's the target.
Oh, what a snipe, and here comes Sponkle. Although it is straight into the Magnet Storm, it does not really matter. Doesn't do much damage, and Sponkle is hop, skipping, and jumping their way through this. Get one more auto.
Wait, what? Kill him!
Kill him, Sponkle. There you go. All right, give the kill over to deukae. I think that was a decisive choice as the Call of the Forge God gets to Sponkle looking to jump along that side lane. Actually gets caught in the Encore, and now Linguini thinks about going in, sees a low health Endrial, but it's the fake, and that just allows Sponkle to go legendary. The beat will not drop on any of this Kelvin Grove side as they are now marching straight into the TAS space.
And this is where TAS's greatest weakness is exploited. The lack of damage output that they have cannot be understood. I've talked about it time and time and time again. Without Geni, there is no damage coming in from the TAS lineup. And when Geni gets sniped off that early into a fight, yes, I know you want to defend your turret, but you are not allowed to, because you see what happens when you fight without your carry. Especially because Geni is on the 2 items for the Kai'Sa. He has the Kraken Slayer, and I think more importantly, the Collector. So if they're able to get Geni in a fight, it's fantastic. The problem is that I think someone from TAS has about 5 seconds to live, and we'll find out who that is.
Oh, this could go very, very poorly as in comes Sponkle, as you can see. A lot of damage dropped, but it is Sponkle who falls, perhaps a bit too aggressive, and now the floodgates open up. TAS see their opening. Prinćess is getting run down by Linguini as up above rowdey. I mean, usually those life preserver buoys are used to save people, but this time it's just being used to beat the cow down. rowdey does try to flash to escape and does get away with their life. It wasn't the cleanest fight at all. A bit of a disaster for Kelvin Grove, and that's going to cost them their 3rd dragon.
Sponkle, I know you're strong. I know you're feeling confident. But next time, for the sanity of your team, don't dive into a rel. I mean, Prinćess can posture all they want, but they can't steal this objective, and that will be the dragon secured. And that's number 3 for TAS.
You know, you just call the Forge God and you ask for a blessing, and the Forge God kind of walked up, ran right by, and was like, yeah, not much I can do here, Chief. Sorry about that. Ask a different god next time. They'll be more willing to smite it for you in the future, as we do pass our 23-minute mark in a game that has been largely dominated by Kelvin Grove. May have just shifted back, perhaps, at least closer to the favor of TAS. They're showing us how they are still alive, however. It does come off of the misplays from Kelvin Grove, and hopefully for the Kelvin Grove side, they're going to stop making those sort of over-ambitious mistakes.
I feel like that was Sponkle's lesson, where he realizes, wait, they actually do damage. That's a problem. So we shouldn't see that happening again, as Sponkle is building towards that Infinity Edge. I can understand the mentality of, you're playing the Tristana, you've done that exact combo maybe 4 or 5 times in a row, so you just default to it. Unfortunately, the default combo isn't necessarily the correct one here. As teams are now posturing, of course, Baron is up and available formal, and Kingsgrove, they're posturing for it, as in like, oh, we're going to take it. But there's one minor problem that they've made, which is TAS has a control ward in the Baron pit that has not been cleared. So no amount of posturing will work.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Although we are playing a little bit of ARAM. That does allow our top laners to continue on each other. And, well, with that posturing, it will be TAS making the first move towards that Baron pit. Expect to see those wards come down now. And perhaps a little bit of a cheeky death push set up will make Kelvin Grove that much more difficult to step towards the pit. Yet, as long as that Scuttlebug is there, not too much TAS can do, as they're actually throwing a lot of attention, it looks like, behind the pit right now, kind of hoping perhaps Kelvin Grove will follow them. And where are they going? They're just kind of taking the scenic route, it looks like, back to mid lane now.
Yeah, the reason they had to take such a long route, though, Formal, is because look at the positioning of Kelvin Grove. They controlled the middle lane, and it was basically saying, look, you either have to engage on us, or you have to go the long way around and give up any and all semblance of position there. So it looked a bit silly, I agree, but it was the safe decision to make. And I think right now, playing safe for TAS is the name of the game. You are 1 dragon away from Mountain Soul. You aren't so far behind that this isn't an irrecoverable situation. You've just got to play smart for the next couple of minutes and hope you can secure yourself the Dragon Soul, and do it before Ornn is able to dish out too many upgrades, because he's already got the Forge Fire Crest ready for himself, and you can probably imagine that Tristana will be the recipient of the second Ornn upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, this is already a 3-item Tristana as well when you got that Infinity Edge, the Kraken Slayer, and the Phantom Dancer. Can do so much damage as long as Sponkle continues to go full-on engages in 1v1s and not 2v1s. We'll probably still have success there. Haven't really seen what Sponkle can do in a full, drawn-out team fight yet with the Prinćess Rowdey front line. I can only imagine good things. And this is, a couple aspects that TAS is going to be very aware of as we once again return to sort of the mid-dance yet again. Endrial will be able to sidestep that axe. Prinćess looking for the flank, though. Here comes the call of the Forge God, as well as the Enchanted Crystal. But Prinćess misses! No. I don't think it matters, though, as already Linguini is gone, yet the Encore hits that back line, but the front line still looks to engage, and this is a chance for Geni to turn it around. The beat drops, holds Rowdey in place, who has to walk away. Only 3 members still standing for TAS, and Else is so low, yet the front line, a tree, is actually chopping things down. Prinćess has to retreat, but Geni's flashing forward, gets the double kill before being found themselves by who else but Sponkle. Tree will engage, gets the stun, but does not have the damage to secure the kill as Sponkle jumps over the wall and continues to run away. Rowdey has to be willing to give up his life, drop the pulverize, throws down the headbutt, and allows this Tristana to escape.
So there are multiple things you can look at that fight and say it was going right for one side and wrong for another. A missed call of the Forge God is a disaster. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands on Linguini, the one person you actually cannot afford to have it hit, because he can just ult and be like, all right, I'm out, eat, no problems. But the reason why that fight actually looks so good for Kelvin Grove is because of Prinćess. Prinćess dived into the backline. It made so that Geni wasn't actually allowed to interact with what was a phenomenal engage coming out from Ludens, and then the follow-up from the Seraphine. It looked great, but there was no follow-up damage, and it took They destroyed the front line there. Then Kelvin Grove then got a bit ambitious, tried to overpush it. Geni had, I think, over half their health ready to go.
Flash,
so they weren't allowed to do that.
Tree getting rid of the blasting cone right there. Flash available for Rowdey, and that could be very significant. The Flash Headbutt Pulverize could be used as an engage tool right now for Kelvin Grove Green if they're going to look to force TAS off of this dragon. Soul Point, by the way, and we can't emphasize how important that is. Call of the Forge God's going to be used as the engage tool. It goes straight down the middle, only hits Else, yet that's still going to warn and engage perhaps Ludens in that front line. Already taking low, Encore only gets 2, but doesn't hit deukae, who continues to do damage on that back line, but the front line's already gone perhaps. It's a scattered fight, and Geni is just wrecking havoc. The Void Seeker doesn't hit, but the Killer Instinct is still available should they choose to use it. No AD carries, only a Shaco available. That should be Soul going over to TAS, but Endrial still looking for a chance to get in and steal. It's in the pit. Else gets knocked around. Else gets shivved, and now there is no spike, but Endrial is found out by Geni, who saved that Killer Instinct for just that moment and should be able to secure the Dragon Soul for TAS.
And this is another fight where Kelvin Grove make one critical mistake, which is they group both of their marksmen so close together that they get hit by the same Encore. Both of them are removed. Neither of them have a defensive cute Quicksilver Sash to get out of the CC, so then they just get nuked down. In this case, Sponkle didn't flash out the way, got caught by the Encore, then Tree got on top of him and just nuked his health bar. There was nothing he can do in that situation because he just didn't preemptively flash. He didn't get out the way early, got caught out and got taken down. The Seraphine, who spent the first, or let's say 20-25 minutes of this game being bullied by this Tristana, is half of the reason why TAS are actually able to secure themselves this soul, the Dragon Soul.
And when you sort of look as well on top of that, what this like pressure and just catching so many of the carries does for the team fight, Geni in that back line was never in danger whatsoever, was actually able to save that Killer Instinct until the very, very end just to secure the kill at Endrial to make sure that they get the dragon. They were in that fight, no real flashes available. They had to rely on like abilities alone in order to position themselves correctly, and TAS did a fantastic job. That said, Sponkle looking for another play, doesn't have the damage to kill linguini, is lucky to get away alive, yet we still see that fight, and that's a big flame coming from deukae. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does hit Geni, who has to retreat into the team, but goes right into Rowdey as deukae is zoned away by Tree. It's a fight on two fronts, and Else is the first to fall. No Encore this time, but the health bars are very low on the side of Kelvin Grove. Prinćess looks for that re-engage as the front line gets blown up by Sponkle. Tree's going to be that next target. Will go down. Do we see a third jump? Yes, we do. Linguini will be found. It's a double at the moment. The flash rocket jump to get to Geni. However, Geni is able to get to the bush, but what can Geni do there? Has to use heal preemptively. Tried to get the damage back on the Sponkle, but with the headbutt will go down. A triple kill for Sponkle and a possible Baron for Kelvin Grove Green.
That could have and probably should have been a disaster for Kelvin Grove. You saw at the start of the fight, Sponkle got caught out, but he was able to buffer the rocket jump, get the hell out of the way, and once he did that, the rest of his team filtered in, and so much was burnt on killing Sponkle at the start of the fight that once the fight dragged out, TAS didn't have the resources to actually get down the damage they needed to, and then the part that spelled doom for TAS comes on the back of the Ashe ultimate. It slammed into Geni. Geni has no Quicksilver Sash. No one has bought a Mikhail's for Geni, so the CC landed. Geni lost over half of their HP bar because they got CC by that. Then Prinćess got a knock up with the Ornn charge, nuked their health bar. They were forced to Killer Instinct away into Endrial, whose boxes then nuked their health bar some more. Geni spent most of that team fight running away, and as a result, couldn't deal the damage they needed to. And the fact that there were 3 items, I think 4 items now on the... Doesn't matter. Oh my god, they're going for another fight.
Yeah, Else does get connected with that Hero, and it could be Ludens paying the price. Teleport's just going to be a little bit too slow in arriving to the scene, as now we get to see a siege get set up. Keep your eyes on Else, though. You do have the Encore available for this fight, which wasn't available for that Baron fight before. Should TAS look to engage, that might be their go trigger. Prinćess and Rowdey, they are clumped together. Endrial's going to try and delay with that fake Shaco, the Fako, who walks straight into a waiting axe of Linguini. I mean, there's no reason for Kelvin Grove to push this right here. They've got the Baron, they've got those tank minions, and an exposed inhibitor in mid. They can just continue this siege as long as they want.
Yeah, but look how much respect they're giving as well. They're aware that all it takes is one fight and everything can blow up in their face here. Ludens is going to be so important here because Ludens does the setup for the Seraphine to hit the Encore. And actually, they're looking because they're split up.
Yeah, they're going to try to get to Prinćess, yet that is a very tanky target, and wisely, no ultimates are burned on that pick attempt. It's just sort of see what you can possibly get. I am a little surprised to see TAS, the team with the gold disadvantage, the team without Baron, actually is able to get a cannon wave all the way to that tier 1 tower. There's the encore, but it only hits Prinćess. Sponkle, though, gets immediately dove upon by 3. Has to use the buster shot, but it's not going to be enough. The shutdown goes over to linguini, yet at what cost? Because now everything has been thrown to dive under the tower. There's no front line to protect Geni from the crystal arrow, from the ensuing damage. That's a triple kill for Endrial. It's going to be another ace in favor of Kelvin Grove, who might try to turn this into the game. Tree just needs to buy time, but can only buy so much. Prinćess gets the ace, and Kelvin Grove might just take the match.
Kelvin Grove made the ultimate bait there. Their jungler and their AD carry, they weren't there in the middle lane. They said, hey, look, there's just 3 of us. Dive us, do it. They committed to TAS, committed to the dive. They killed Sponkle, but at the cost of everything, because the flash, the flank from the Ashe, the flank from the Shaco was enough to lock them in place. They realized, crap, we can't run away. We can't run forwards. We can't go anywhere except die. And such a beautiful flank does reward Kelvin Grove with the victory, as they will take down both Nexus turrets. The Nexus itself is under fire, and I don't think all the fighting in the world is going to be able to kill this one, will it?
Oh, maybe it will, though. Else is there. Endrial is trying to get damage to the Nexus, yet somehow TAS is able to push them back. No ultimates available for this red side either, as deukae just trying to kite, trying to peel, but there's no crits coming from this Ashe, and that means no damage. Down falls the Ashe. Flashing forward is Geni. They find the Alistar as well. Somehow, some way, TAS stay in this game.
They stay in. It's a miracle they're able to pull that one off there. But once again, Geni is the driving force of this team. But it's going to be this should be it.
Sponkle immediately jumps, but only got 2 autos. It doesn't matter. Is still able to find those last 2, and now looks to escape. And that is the damage gone for 50 long seconds with an exposed Nexus. That means that this TAS team cannot leave their base with an Elder Dragon now starting to spawn, and you know Sponkle is going to make quick work of this.
Yeah, but if they leave the basic contest to the soul, guess who's waiting around for a backdoor? Endrial! He's actually in the perfect position to backdoor if there's a dragon contest. So it's damned if you do contest and damned if you don't contest. But it looks like right now there is no contest. Are they actually going to commit? This is a risky commit. I don't think this is a good idea at all.
No, this actually could go very, very poorly. And I think they make that wise choice in backing away for now. Just go back and fall for that Elder Dragon. That is a free major neutral objective right now, and it does look as if the rest of Kelvin Grove are making their way there now, so that will be the Elder Dragon secured, and it's going to make this next fight so difficult for TAS.
Yeah, TAS, they were forced in a difficult situation. They chose to play defensively, which I agree with. You can't contest that objective, not without your Kai'Sa. So now you're in a rough situation, but I believe this was the correct decision to make. It was the best out of a bad situation, but now you've got a problem. With Elder Dragon given over to the side of Kelvin Grove, I should say, the person who has to kill them, Geni, has to get close. And it is very easy to simply nuke through someone's health bar to the point where you proc Elder before your Seraphine can heal them to keep them alive with this Moonstone. So Geni is going to have to play the next couple fights perfectly if they want to survive, because guess what's spawning in less than a minute?
Yeah, it's going to be yet another Baron in this one, and you can already see people starting to recall, get ready, or are they actually teleporting? No, it could be a play to try to end the game prematurely. Not sure about this one. Crystal Arrow hits the tank of Ludens as the Call of the Forge God does hit Else, and that should force out the Encore, which gets 4, but then everyone else was running away, and they're unable to follow it up. TAS now a member down as all 5 members of Kelvin Grove arrive for what should be the final fight. Ludens doing everything he can to protect Geni, who is running away. There's the Killer Instinct, gets into that front line, pops the GA, but then will go down. deukae gets credit for the kill, and that will do it. Sponkle just make sure Ludens can't even get into the fountain. It is the ace. It is the game. Kelvin Grove cement themselves in second place.
Yeah, but not by any given way. TAS fought like hell to make sure that if they lost, which they did not give their opponents the victory there. And what a series, I still almost said a series, what a game we just had there, Formal. Back and forth for so long, it was even, with little increments. Soul secured, but it just wasn't enough.
I wish so badly this was a series because I reckon these two teams in a best of would absolutely deliver. That game was so much fun to watch. And I mean, in particular, credit where credit is due, I feel, actually to our red side in this game, TAS. Like, we went into this kind of questioning that team composition and how much work can Geni do as that sole damage dealer. And until we kind of saw Kelvin Grove sort of figure out the best way to approach these team fights, we saw exactly what Geni can do. It was a pretty monumental performance. However, it was not going to be enough. And I think one of the big things that turned things back around for Kelvin Grove, yes, Sponkle played admirably through that early and mid game, but we saw Rowdey and deukae step up at the tail end of it all. Those enchanted crystal arrows were hitting vital targets, it felt like, time and time again. That flank at Baron was arguably the game-winning team fight. That's when the momentum shifted right back over to Kelvin Grove, and it does not happen if deukae does not hit that mark.
Exactly. His enchant, like, he had a couple arrows at the start that, let's be honest, weren't great. I figured the one where the Kaiser was pushed under the turret and it just missed a little bit, but credit where credit must be given. A lot of the arrows, I don't think there were many arrows that just straight up missed even in the mid to late game. And those kind of arrows are important. Hell, look at the last arrow of the game. It hit a target who you could argue is the least, you don't want it to hit. You hit Ludens on the rel. Like, that's like, oh, like, what can we do here? But the follow-up was fantastic. Then they came forwards for it. Rel ran the hell away, and they caught the Seraphine, which was critical. Because in all of the fights around the Dragons, where stuff had started to go wrong for Kelvin Grove, the instigator, well, A, was Ludens by locking them all in, and then it was the Seraphine by slapping them with that encore. Can't move, can't fight back, can't do anything but die in that. So TAS had beautiful signs of life, but unfortunately, one damage compositions, especially with short range, they are very hard to pull off. And against an Elder, I'd argue it's near impossible to recover, like, salvage that sort of situation.
And to bring everything back to where we started and sort of those themes of today involving, resolve, handling adversity when things go wrong and that ability to bounce back. I mean, deukae, we saw that with the improved mechanical gameplay on the later half. On this side of even the losing team in this one, their early game was not pretty, but they still found avenues for Geni to win fights. And it looked like they were going to come back in this one, not to mention that heroic Nexus defense. I mean, we thought the game was over, but they were able to bounce it back. Both these teams showing that resolve in spades, showing why they are in, the top 5 teams in our Swiss bracket ladder right now. I mean, these are two teams that you probably are not going to want to run into come playoff time because they can bring it. They can play very, very well. And as we get ever closer, I mean, there's only 2 more weeks of regular season before we get into our playoffs, Ewan, and I'm excited to see what more, these teams have to offer.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that these teams can do is the discipline we witness. Now, yes, as the game gets on, things get a little bit more chaotic, things get a lot more fight heavy. That's expected. But I think the discipline I'm talking about is those first 5 to 10 minutes. We saw no over-aggressive plays bar a couple, I think. Okay, you give me a face film. I can see that.
Well, no, honestly, but my line of thinking is last night we casted some challenger level games.
Oh, yeah.
And when you compare the two, you go, why is the high school level, which admittedly is less than challenger, why do they have better macro decisions at times than the challenger players? Why are they playing more cohesively as a team? And that is just so impressive to me, like on so many levels. And I want these players more in my ranked games than some of the stuff we saw last night.
See, be careful what you wish for, Formal, because you're going to say that, you're going to load into a ranked game, and you're going to see on the enemy team the entire lineup of Kelvin Grove, like as a 5-man stack, and you're like, my elo.
I thought you were about to say you're going to look out your window and you're going to see the Weekend Warriors arriving for that house party that they've been talking about. But I think they're more heading over to your place, truth be told. Either way, though, that is going to do us for tonight. Thank you all once again for tuning in. As mentioned before, we still have 2 more weeks of regular season before we get into our playoffs. So action is only going to get more intense for here. This was a great start to it. I look forward to seeing you all next week. And until then, have a great day, everybody.